You know I love you, right? First time I laid eyes on you like a year and a half ago, I knew you were the one. Come on over here and give me a big kiss. Mwah. Oh, sorry about that. Bowman 1951 here. We are going to get into the hottest product in the baseball card world right now, 2018 Topps Update. We're going to look into the supply and demand economics of what's going on all over social media right now, why it's blowing up, and what we can expect from it moving forward. So let's go ahead and get the episode started right now. So yeah, like I said, social media has been blowing up this past week. Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, on Twitter has been promoting baseball cards along with basketball cards as well, and everything he touches turns to gold. So this week he promoted the Ronald Acuna Jr. rookie card, the US 250. I'm going to hold that up right now. This is a copy of the PSA 10 right there. And we're going to go in depth in terms of what the supply looks like right now at the PSA 10 level. I'm not going to focus on BGS because I looked up how many have been graded over there, and it was under 2,000. Whereas the PSA, we're now at 5 figures. So we're going to explain how it works in terms of why prices are increasing right now, 3 weeks before the season starts, and what we can expect moving forward, and why I'm not too worried about too much supply being out there. So there could be some potential room to grow on this product yet. So let's take up a little hypothesis right now as to why I feel that the price increases were slightly warranted. So I decided to use 2018 Topps Update as my example because not only does it have Ronald Acuna, but we've got Juan Soto in there who effectively was screwed out of the World Series MVP this year. He was an absolute stud right even before he could drink beer legally in the United States. We've got Shohei Ohtani, who's set to have a big comeback year this year after Tommy John surgery. And finally, we've got Gleyber Torres for the New York Yankees, who could effectively become the next Derek Jeter for them. So this 2018 Topps Update product is absolutely stacked. It's got, there's even a few other rookies out there too. Who knows who could take off in the next couple years. But right now we've got 4 to watch out for. The product is on absolute fire, and social media can impact the supply and demand side, like I mentioned before. And that's exactly what happened this week. So we're going to get into some numbers here in terms of what happened on the sales side. So according to my research, week over week, just from this week into basically the last week of February, there was a roughly 50% increase in the PSA 10 prices across the board for many of these rookies. And a lot of people attributed to one social media influencer. Again, his name is Gary V. I don't know if he is truly to blame for everything. You know, we are getting close, like I said, to about 3 weeks from the start of the season, and people are just excited again about baseball. So, you know, it's warm weather is approaching. It's going to be 70 degrees here in the Boston area next week, and I'm excited for spring to start and baseball season to get underway. So I think there's a hype there. It's happened in the past or in the springtime where everybody starts to pay attention to baseball again, and, you know, football cards kind of take a back seat as soon as the Super Bowl's over. So there's a theory out there that Gary V is bringing in a lot of sneaker collectors into the hobby, and then anybody else is basically paying attention to his Twitter feed. If you're an entrepreneur, you likely follow him too, and you're going to take his advice on terms of what to potentially put your money in towards. So us baseball collectors are happy over here that a lot more people are paying attention. I'm going to do a quick dive into how many people I feel are collecting in America right now, what we can expect from it in the future, and why the supply side really doesn't match up with the potential collectors out there. Hence, any price increase that's currently happening. So it was pretty difficult for me to ascertain how many baseball card collectors are out there currently, at least maybe purchase something within the last 3 months. There's just no way to quantify that or, you know, actually have somebody get that data. But the hobby has been increasing over the last several years. We know that much. We can kind of figure out how many baseball fans are out there, and then figure out from there how many of those baseball fans actually want to collect the sports cards of their favorite players. So let's say, for the sake of argument, for this supply and demand analysis, that there are roughly 500,000 active sports card collectors out there. And I guess we have to narrow that down to baseball card collectors. So it's an international thing. There are plenty of collectors over in Asia as well as other parts of around the world. But baseball doesn't seem to transcend like the NBA does into foreign markets. So again, we'll start with a baseline of 500,000 baseball card collectors. So from there, we've got to break it down modern versus vintage, right? So I personally collect both. Now, it's going to be hard to figure out how many collect both, how many only do vintage, how many only really focus on modern. So let's have that. Say half collect modern sports cards, 250,000, and half collect vintage, 250,000. But half of that total also collects both. I'm in that group, and I'm sure many of you are as well. So now we're at 375,000 who may potentially dabble in modern sports cards. Well, forget that 125,000 other old guys, pretty much. There's a few young guys out there, I don't mean to rip on you, that do collect vintage only, but that is becoming rarer and rarer as the excitement for these modern sports cards continues to ramp up. All right, we've got to narrow down our baseball card modern collector market a little more. So the next one is going to be those that care about grading and those that do not. There is no problem whatsoever if you only collect raw cards. There are plenty of people out there that do so. However, modern cards, in terms of being graded and having a perceived value to them added on, some of these modern cards are $3 in raw form or $30 in a PSA 10. So there is that definite added value from having that gem mint card in your hands. So we're going to have that number again. We're down to roughly 188,000 who collect the slabs and 188,000 who just do the raw form. Are you with me so far? Good. I'm glad. All right, so to recap, we are down to 188,000 modern baseball card collectors who happen to like slabs. So where does that lead us in terms of who would want to collect, the top stars today? The Shohei Ohtanis, the Juan Sotos, the Gleyber Torres, and of course, the Ronald Acuna. Ah yes, Ronald Acuna Jr., who does not turn 23 until the season is over in 2020. How insane is that? The guy almost went 40-40 last year. I don't know if he'll ever hit the 40 stolen base mark. You know, most guys slow down throughout the years as they age. But, man, what a beast. And this is the card that Gary V was talking up this week. I've got a handful of these. A couple more are out for grading right now. But we're going to take a quick look at the pop report and see what all the fuss is about and whether or not it's enough out there to go around for these 188,000 potential collectors. Like I said before, for those that collect BGS, Beckett Grading Services, it is totally fine that you do so. However, there were only about 1,700 cards that have been graded by them, so we're going to stick strictly to PSA population report here. We are looking at the US 250 Ronald Acuna Jr. at bat in blue jersey card, and there have been 15,337 cards graded since March 7th, 2020. And also you can see there, 10,933 of them have been graded a PSA 10. So roughly 70%, a little over there, are getting the gem mint grade. So 10,933 perfect copies out there exist from PSA for collectors to grab. That's fine if everybody only has one. There are definitely dealers sitting on a bunch. There are people who use this for quote-unquote investment purposes and want to hold on to them, so they'll have 20, 30, 100 copies of these. Then there are others who may have not been paying attention, got these at a $3 clearance packs from Walmart, and realized, wow, I have 5 of them, I better be sending them off for grading. So this population report is definitely going to increase over time. It might do so exponentially in the next few months, especially as the 2020 season starts to get underway. But bottom line, and my point all along, if my number is anywhere near the 188,000 people who may want to go out there and collect Ronald Acuna Jr. modern rookie cards, there are going to be 177,000 people who are completely devastated that they cannot get one unless they go out and spend the money on any of the secondary markets. So what does this all mean? I've been thinking about that very question all day long as I pondered how many collectors are out there, what the population reports were going to look like. And as I started to dig into the numbers, I realized there's probably not a glut of supply like everybody expects there to be. And if every modern collector out there, even if that number is closer to 100,000 or 50,000, there are still not enough Ronald Acuna Jr. PSA 10 rookie cards for those collectors to want to have, and especially for those that are hoarding them or whatever. Shame on you, by the way. No, that's okay. You can have as many copies as you darn well please. I've got just a handful. I've actually sold off a few, not recently, but you know, you gotta sell off when you can and lock in those profits, right? And this also takes me to my next point. I don't think we should fear somebody like Gary V manipulating the market for his favor, for his not favor. I don't know why he's doing it at times. He's got a lot of followers, a lot of people paying attention to him, and anything he touches or talks about turns to gold. Cody Bellinger was another who went from like $80 to $250 overnight for his rookie card. Was it already undervalued? I thought so. But, you know, people paying attention are going to flock to those particular cards that he's talking about. Again, that's totally okay with everybody in this hobby. It should be. It only isn't okay with you, likely, if you don't already own a card and you were sitting on it and wondering, you know, am I going to pull the trigger the first day of the season? Oops. Gary V talks about it, and it has gone up in price, and now it's really unattainable or doesn't make sense to buy at this price range. I think another takeaway from this is don't let a social media influencer go out there and start picking cards and players before you can. You watch the sport just like he does, or talk to people just like he does. You play fantasy sports, whatever it may be. You have an insight yourself. Go with your gut. Go with who you think is going to be blowing up in the next few years. 2019 Series 2 is another prime example. I went to my local card shop on release day and I spent $58 on a hobby box, and now they're almost triple that. So I got the key rookie cards that day that I wanted, my Eloy Jimenez and my Pete Alonso's and Fernando Tatis. So go out and grab them. Go to your local card shows and get them, you know, months and months in advance before Gary can go out there and say, hey, sneakerheads, you need to go out and buy Fernando Tatis Jr. next. I think my last word of caution here is don't buy into hype and don't buy at the top of markets. When you see somebody that's just increased 200, 300% overnight, it's probably not a good time to buy. So don't be a follower. Find those players well in advance. Buy what you love. Buy players that you totally enjoy following. It is a hobby after all. I know some people are out there to strictly make money off of this, but you know, some of us do still enjoy collecting, and the last thing you want to do is take a loss. And you really need to think for yourself. And I know a lot of you can do that and figure out what you can buy at a value level, and maybe it potentially increases, or you know, they end up in the nickel bin 5 years from now at your local card show. I had a ton of fun making this. I didn't really think I was going to focus strictly on 2018 Topps Update as I was thinking about the topic all day long, but it really made sense in terms of how supply and demand works. Remember, sealed boxes too. These are always going down on the supply side, and they constantly go up in value. So these are wonderful to own, wonderful to have. Grab the next hot product out there, figure out what it is, put away a few boxes, don't touch them, don't open them, and they will be potentially worth more money in the future. Bowman 1951, thank you so much, everybody. We're going to see you at the next video. We're out for now. See you later.